Good morning and welcome to the second edition of the Onsen Budgie Smugglers with Yoshi and Crash. And welcome to my co-host, Yoshi Imagawa. Good morning, Yosh.
Good morning, Troy. Good morning, everyone.
Of course, coming to you from Melbourne, Australia. And Yoshi, you are in?
Kyoto, Japan. And unfortunately, it's so freezing today, like 2 degrees in the morning. The season has rapidly changed. How's the weather?
Yeah, well, we're finally getting some summer-like weather in Melbourne after months of cold and rain when it should have been a nice warm spring. We're finally getting 30 degrees here in Melbourne today and 33 tomorrow. So people in Melbourne won't know what's hit them with this warm weather. So look out at the Melbourne beaches today because they're going to be chockers.
Beautiful.
All right. Look, I just thought we'd do a little recap on the name of our show, the Onsen Budgie Smugglers, and where that came from. So I guess when we were looking for a title, we were looking something that sort of related to Australia and Japan in their own ways, and we're kind of connected, but not. And I vaguely knew about onsens in Japan, but not really much about them. But I do know a bit about budgie smugglers, which are the Australian swimming costume, or togs. So described as budgie smugglers because on men they might look like they've got a little bird down there. So there had been a crime over the years of people smuggling native birds out of Australia for the pet market overseas. And they were known as budgie smugglers, and the way that they would take them out of Australia is literally by hiding them within their clothes. So then that joke came about that the Australian swimming togs were budgie smugglers, and in Australia that's something that we would wear swimming. Certainly for those that are proud of their body. For those that are not, we might wear some big board shorts like the Americans, but that's the way we do our swim and our dip in Australia. But I believe in Japan, the onsen is a very deep cultural sort of experience, and maybe you can just explain onsens and how they work for us.
Oh, sure, Troy. Onsens are like hot springs, and people go there for better bathing. Like if we have a bath onsen, then we feel we could heal from like sore backs or shoulders, etc. Then it's a kind of healthy, like relaxing time for hardworking Japanese people. Then in Japan, we have to be naked to get into onsen. Then baths are separated between genders. So I understand that if you go to like a hot springs or forever in Australia or New Zealand, people have to wear like swimming costumes, and I saw that the onsen and the budgie smugglers are matching.
And it would be very inappropriate if I went to Japan for me to wear my budgie smugglers in the onsen, right?
True. Unfortunately, you have to be naked.
So that's a fairly unfamiliar concept to us in Australia. Probably the only time you're going to see people swimming naked is after they're drunk and they get all their gear off and go for a jump in the lake or the sea here. Certainly a different cultural experience.
Yeah, true.
All right. So, yes, again, that title, The Onsen Budgie Smugglers, a bit of a connection. Australia and Japan would obviously be totally inappropriate to wear the budgie smugglers in an onsen. So, hoping there's a little bit of irony in that title there. So, moving on, in the interests of trying to further our cultural understandings of each other's nations, we talk about every week about a bit of a news story. And you're going to kick us off this week, Yoshi, with a story from Japan.
Sure. The headline reads, Japanese firms reimagine offices to make them of communication. What do you think about it?
Right. So, I mean, from what I understand, the workplace in Japan is a very serious place. At most workplaces, they like people to work long hours and work very
Yes.
hard, and perhaps their life outside of work is not really that well considered, would be my guess. So they're trying to make the offices a better place for people to be over a longer amount of time, thus not wanting to or needing to go home and be communicating with people in the outside world outside of work. So I imagine they're probably setting up more ability to live stream, perhaps that office set up for people to communicate not only between desks but within their company and with clients and that sort of thing. That would be my guess.
All right. Your guess is good. You know, during the pandemic, then we have been encouraged to work remotely, like from home. You know,
Yep.
then many people choose to work from home these days, but communication doesn't go well. It's hard to communicate, between people through online. I have written some, blogs in English. Then it's hard to communicate with people, through the microphone or like, over the emails, etc. It happens in the Japanese, companies as well, by organizations. Then they renovated their office, when they move out to the new place. Then, for example, administration software company renovate office, installing the kitchen in the workplace, and they cook together. Then they try to get, close up, by each other. That's what happens.
Yeah, very good.
Also, other companies, install like arts in the hallway to make, feel comfortable to work in the office.
And how do you think that'll work? Do you think that's a good thing?
I think so. Like, people get more, motivated and sharing interests. Then they can share more ideas like freely. Then work efficiency improves, I believe.
Fair enough. All right. Let's move along to the story that I've bought this week. And the headline is Teen Knocked Unconscious in Frightening Schoolies Stunt. And then in quote marks, pretty horrifying. So what do you think that's about?
Oh, gosh. I understand the school is like, the school rivers, travel, like especially on the Gold
Motion
Coast.
detected at the front door.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Carry on.
School is, many people go to on the Gold Coast or like Bali or etc. Like on the beach mainly, I think.
Yes,
Then,
my daughter literally has just returned from her schoolies in Bali.
right, good. Then definitely they are partying, like drinks a lot of beers or etc. Then something like chloro, like a firing happens on the beach. Then it's bigger, like then one of teens, get unconscious from the firing. Then
Yes, that would probably seem to be the most obvious reason why they'd be knocked out. But in this case, it was a case of young male testosterone and alcohol fueled situation. So one young fella decided that he was going to show off to his friends. So he climbed onto a local toilet block, onto the roof, and was going to jump down onto a plastic table below and smash it. um, so that on its own is a bit of an effort. But unfortunately, at the very same time he was doing that, another young male decided to do exactly the same thing. So they both jumped together at the same time and clashed
Yeah.
heads as they hit the table. And the young man in question was knocked out and unconscious for a little while. So, yeah, that's the sort of things that young men get up to in
Yeah.
Australia after they've finished their year 12 and they're on the schoolies.
Oh gosh. But it's too dangerous and silly.
Very silly. I'm sure it was intended to be silly, but he wouldn't have intended to be knocked out and taken to hospital by ambulance. Didn't turn out well there for that young fella.
Oh gosh.
All
And
right.
where did it happen?
It happened on the Gold Coast. Yeah.
On
So
the Gold
so
Coast.
so your instincts were right there, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's move on to our weeks and what inspired you and made you feel rough this week, Yosh.
Yeah. Like a love stories, like I'm facing a series of job applications, rejections. It's really, really hard. Then I feel like I'm not sure if I could get a new job or not.
So,
Then
Yosh, what do you do for work at the moment?
I'm working in a restaurant, but it's too tough. Like it's overloaded. It's like sometimes intense, more often intense. Then it's hard to deal. Overloaded. It's not my stuff. I want to be in a quiet environment. Then focus on one thing. Then in a restaurant, we have to deal with like a multitask. It's hard for me.
Fair enough. And on to inspiring. What inspired you this week, Yosh?
Couple of stuffs. The first one is like a sent kill the draftee. Matas Filfo. He is very unique and a funny guy. I talked about more later. Then soccer team in the World Cup, Japan upsetting Spain.
I watched that game live the other morning, and Japan went down 1-0 in the first half and looked like they might be done. But in the second half, they were just rampant. And those two goals they kicked were fantastic. And yeah, it must have been really inspiring for the whole nation, I imagine.
Yeah, like I heard the news that many Japanese people are celebrating the win, the upset in time. Or I was busy yesterday, so I couldn't catch up many news, but I heard from the headlines.
Yeah, so that takes them through to I guess, the final 16.
Yeah.
And the Socceroos yesterday also qualified through to the round of 16, defeating Denmark, which is also a huge upset. So
Awesome.
both the Australian Japanese teams through. So we'll have something to watch. I know it's going to be a massive celebration here of people watching at 6 a.m. Sunday Melbourne time. At various venues around Melbourne, I know, and certainly the rest of Australia, I guess. But the Socceroos, I guess I think they've made it through to the round of 16 once before, so this equals that. And they're playing obviously against some very, very good sides, as are Japan. So good luck to both teams.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah, are you watching the game on Sunday?
Yeah, I'll get up and watch it. I'm not sure yet where I'll watch it from. I don't think I'll go down to Fed Square because it'll be a little bit too busy down there, I think. But I may find a venue somewhere a bit closer to my home and go and watch that early in the morning on Sunday.
Oh, good. Good luck.
Thanks, and good luck to Japan. The Japanese team are so fast and skillful, so they are really a great team to watch.
Oh, beautiful.
Okay, so my rough this week is multiple hospital visits. Firstly, my daughter had her tonsils out, which all went well, but also my partner Annabelle is battling a terminal illness and having to make many hospital visits recently. So, yeah, I've had enough of being in hospitals. It's not a fun place to be, even
No,
for anyone really. So, but that's
I'm sorry.
okay.
I'm sorry to hear that, Troy.
Yeah, that's okay. But people are getting the best treatment, and the staff at the hospitals, particularly Epworth Hospital, where they both were this week, are pretty amazing. So
Oh,
take that
nice.
as the positive out of that. And inspired. So in the past week, went with my partner Annabelle. We stayed on the 48th floor of the Sofitel in the city, overlooking Melbourne and the MCG. Anyone who's following me on social media probably saw some nice pictures of the MCG I took from up
Yeah,
there. And yeah, we went for a nice helicopter flight over the bay in the city, and that was fantastic. So great to see
oh,
Melbourne looking its best from the
that's
sky.
good.
Yeah, so that was
How,
fantastic.
yeah, I saw your social media and the pictures look nice. I didn't know that, it's from the 48th floor of the hotel.
Yeah, yeah, it was an amazing view up there. I could see out over the bay and all the sporting precinct of Melbourne, down over Flinders Street, and down where the celebrations were going on as the Socceroos beat Tunisia the other morning with all the flares going off the other night. So that was fantastic.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. So we'll move on to footy talk
Yeah,
and the AFL draft, which happened this week. So
yeah.
pretty exciting for those of us that are perhaps having previous seasons down the ladder a bit. Hawthorn pretty much down the bottom, and St Kilda kind of midfield at the moment.
Yeah,
Looking for a positive future and some improvement and injection of young talent. So we'll have a quick look at Hawthorn's draft first. They
yeah,
had pick 7 and took Cam Mackenzie,
yeah.
who I feel is a little bit of the Cripps effect. So looking for that big midfielder that can kind of dominate in the middle, and looking for him to become that sort of player. And
Mhm.
then they took a tall defender, Josh Weddle, at pick 18. Beyond that, they had Henry Huswaite at pick 37, who they rated much higher, and looks like he slid down a bit. So that's hopefully good value from the draft. Jack O'Sullivan and Bailey McDonald at picks 46 and 51. I did see that Collingwood drafted Ben Allen's son. So that
Shame.
was a bit sad as a Hawthorn supporter, going back to the glory days of when Ben Allen was at Hawthorn, won best and fairest before he went to become the inaugural captain at Fremantle.
No.
Um, and then obviously there was also a rookie draft, and Hawthorn subsequently listed Josh Bennett as a
Mhm.
Category B rookie. So he played for the Eastern Rangers this year. And those that know me and my interest in all things international in football, the note there is that his mother was born in the Philippines. So
Wow.
that's why he's a Category B rookie, giving his mother's heritage. And we know there's some great footy played out in the Philippines. Josh, you would have played against the Philippines teams in the Asian Championships previously.
Um, I don't think we played against Philippines,
Okay.
but I know mates, from Philippines.
Yeah.
Like, one of them is Ivan. His mother is also
Yes.
Filipino.
Yeah.
Then he's not our teammate, technically. Like, I was playing in the Hong Kong Dragons at the time, but
Yes.
we hung out a lot. We stayed in the same hotel as Asian AFL Dragons at the time.
Yeah.
He's a good fella. He really is inspiring, a positive guy. I really like him. He's a nice fella.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And then the last note for Hawthorn is they did delist young guy Seamus Mitchell this year, who'd been playing at Box Hill, and
Mm.
they relisted him and picked him back up in the rookie draft.
Right.
So over to the Saints, Josh. Tell us what the Saints did.
Pick number 10, midfielders, Matas Filifo. He's been drafted, and he's got the confidence that, brings St. Kilda more wins, I believe. Like he's got good hands, good speed, good skills. Not only on the field, but he's a unique, good character of the field as well. He went to as headquarters, on Tuesday, met Robert Harvey, Lenny Hayes, Brendan Goddard. He said, far out. It's interesting, right?
Yeah, it's good to see those confident young guys come in.
Yeah, true. Then pick number 31, key defender, James Bang S. He's a family friend of Rowan Marshall. So it's another interesting story. Pick number 35, midfield forward, Ori Houghton. And on the draft night, Marcus Winger and Mitch Owens, went to his house as they are his old, free mates from Sandringham Dragons. Interesting story again. Then pick number 44, Isaac Kira, key forward, Ruckman. And when he would be a key, he would be another key Ruckman with Rowan Marshall. It's interesting and exciting story. At the rookie draft, Angus McLennan is being drafted, and he was born in Australia but grown up in Cairo, and he comes back to Melbourne. It's interesting story.
Yeah, very exotic. Cairo to Melbourne.
Yeah. I haven't read full story, but it's kind of he's going through a unique story, and must be nice, brings a nice, interesting insights.
Yeah, no doubt that story will be written, and I'll be looking forward to reading that.
Oh, good.
So overall, Josh, you pretty happy?
You happy? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I think the Saints had a pretty disappointing end to this year. They started really well.
Oh.
And with, as we talked about last week, with Ross Lyon coming back in, an injection of new hope, there's definitely a lot of hope there for the Saints to make their way back into the 8 this year.
Yeah, sure. I hope so.
All right.
Using coaching skills and developing young players, and will back in the business.
Absolutely. We'll just cover off and close out the AFLW Grand Final. We talked last time. We talked prior to the preliminary finals. So Melbourne obviously won their way through to play in Brisbane. They end up playing the game in Springfield in Brisbane at the new Brisbane Lions training base. The first time there's a match played on that ground. And the ground held up really well. And shout out to Jacob Anson, who years and years and years ago started writing for our World Footy News website before he moved on in the footy world, and now he's running the venues up there. So it was really good. I think they had a sellout crowd of about 8,000. I think the weather was a bit overcast, but that probably was not a bad thing, given it was in the sort of low to mid 30 degrees up there. And that certainly favoured the home side, but Brisbane got off to a quick start with a couple of goals in the first quarter. And then Melbourne just clawed their way back into that game and eventually finished, I think, winning by 4 points in the end. So congratulations to the Melbourne Demons on the AFLW Premiership.
Yeah, congratulations to the Demons again.
Yes, exactly. So they're having good run that club, and congratulations to Daisy Pearce, the captain, and all the players down and supporters down there at Melbourne.
Yeah, she's so inspiring. She's a good captain, and appears on the media. I always think she's so inspiring.
Absolutely. So
she deserves to win the flag.
Definitely, Josh. So anything big coming up for you this next weekend or week or so?
Just I'm heading to the free training for the last session for the year. Then we'll have to say goodbye to Matt. Unfortunately, he's relocating to Australia, which is sad. It's emotional, I think.
Yeah, that's Matt Gale. So he's been there with you at the Osaka Dingoes for a very long time and head of AFL Asia as well.
Yeah, exactly. I can't believe that the end of the time comes soon.
And Matt's been a bit of a mentor to you over his time there.
Sorry?
Matt's been a bit of a mentor for you in your time.
Absolutely. He's a good mentor, mate.
Yeah, so well done to Matt Gale and safe travels home. And I will hopefully get to catch up with him in Australia at some stage.
Yeah, you should. Yeah.
All right, Yosh, I think that's about it for this week. So we'll wrap it up there. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for joining.
Have a great weekend, and we'll see you all in 2 weeks' time.
See you in 2 weeks.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, mate.